I broke up with my ex-boyfriend a few days ago and discovered I was being cheated on a few days later. Should I tell the other girl he cheated on her? Visit my profile and go through my 2 most recent entries if you want to read the complete story in its entirety. My ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old female, and I had known one other since early October, 23 male. We were together for 4 months, and we spoke virtually every day until Valentine's Day came along. On Valentine's Day, I had scheduled a dinner date with him at my house. He ditched me and didn't show up for work. My connection with him came to an end the next day because he refused to explain himself. I went on his Facebook page yesterday to see if he had banned me. He hadn't, and I ended up clicking on the profile of a random female. A pinned Facebook item named has photographs of him on it, and this girl, 22 female, has them on her profile in an article titled, "Aside from those 2 photographs, I have no evidence that he and this other girl are dating, but it seems to be a very reasonable possibility." It was only after I found her public Instagram account that I realized she had no photographs with him and that he did not follow her back. I also do not have him on any social media platforms other than Snapchat. My ex-boyfriend never said anything about this girl to me. He previously expressed a desire for an open relationship. I wasn't completely against it, but I did tell him that I'd want to get tested for STD first and that we should always ask permission before meeting someone else for the first time. He acquiesced. When I explained to him how important my health was to me, he responded by saying that the last time he had was 3 months before we started seeing one other. The results of my STD test were returned to me earlier this month. I tested negative for HIV, and I'm awaiting the results of the other tests. I believe he left me because he was out on a date with this other woman, who I believe to be his actual girlfriend. I'm really taken aback, and my heart goes out to the lady. He also lied to me about his partners, which undermined my trust and put my health at risk. On Reddit, I made a post, and the replies seemed to be equally split on whether or not I should inform his girlfriend of my intentions. Whether I were in her shoes, I'd want to know if I was being taken advantage of, and I feel that this is the proper course of action. In contrast, he has nude images of me, and I'm frightened of repercussions if I speak out against him. Of course, I realize now that I shouldn't have shared my underwear with him. My heartfelt apologies for having done so. The information I supplied to him was recorded, and revenge porn is considered a criminal offense in my state. Several people have said that I being too petty, since I had no prior knowledge of this girl's existence until yesterday, and that she may not be concerned. People question whether I should do this for the sake of the girl or as a form of retribution. It's also feasible that they're in a relationship with an open door. In light of the fact that I have a finsta, my friends have offered to approach this woman on my behalf. One of my biggest concerns is that he hasn't been entirely forthcoming about his history. He showed me nudes of himself, with prior FWB twice in a short period of time, no faces, claiming he had consent to share them. Likewise, if I were in her shoes, I'd be interested in knowing about it. Given that this is a cheating subreddit, I'm anticipating a negative response, but I'd welcome any suggestions on how to proceed. Story 2. 8 years later and still beating myself up. So this isn't going to be your average post. To be clear, I was the one who cheated in this narrative. There is no explanation for what I did, but I feel the need to express myself. Please accept my apologies for the length of this. So, 2 weeks after graduating from high school, I relocated from Texas to Utah to live with my father, stepmother, and her 2 sons from a previous marriage. I eventually landed my first job in retail, which I really loved. I was far from the finest employee, but I gave it my all and participated in as many community activities as I could. I'd always been antisocial and didn't have a lot of friends. Those I did have were too little. Helping others always made me feel better and less furious. I gained the moniker God's Wrath in high school due to my anger, which kept me out of a lot of the fights. I began handwriting snail mail back and forth with my closest buddy, whom I had always had a special place for. I once attempted to assist her get over an ex-boyfriend while believing I'd never be able to be with her. We became more serious about having a relationship, and I vowed to return for her birthday. Keeping commitments is a major deal for me. I discovered I only had enough money for one trip, so I transferred back to Texas and made it. Her parents liked me, and my parents liked her. She spent Thanksgiving with my family, and I spent Christmas with hers, where I gave her a hand-carved heart made from a scrap piece of 2x4. We had a little fun on one of our movie evenings, and she became pregnant as a result. We informed her mother, but we knew her father would tie me up. Less than a month later, on January 24, 2014, after a few weeks of her not really reacting to anything, I found out she miscarried. I can't claim it didn't bother me since I was enthusiastic about the thought of being a father. That afternoon, I paid a visit to a female acquaintance with whom I assumed my relationship was strictly platonic. Near the conclusion of the visit, the friend burst into tears and told me to go. My instincts kicked in for some reason, so I hugged her and stated I wanted to soothe her. I was always the sort to give a buddy in need the clothes off my back and then more. My stepdad even called the cops on me once for running away, when I was trying to stop a different friend from running away themselves. The next thing I knew, her lips were crushed against mine, and we were kissing. There was no oral or physical contact, but I instantly knew what was going on and departed. I tried contacting my ex on the way home, but there was no response. It was late, so I decided to try again the following morning, hoping to confess if she didn't respond to the text I sent. I had no idea the female I had just cheated with was already telling my ex about what had transpired. On January 25, 2014, I was able to speak with my ex. It didn't matter what I said. The dead were dead. It was all over. I had to say goodbye to the lady I loved and my closest friend. She stopped communicating with me, and I stopped communicating with the other female. My mental condition had collapsed. I began to self-harm in order to distract myself from the misery I was experiencing, beating my leg until it was badly bruised, or forcing myself to listen to music I knew would make me break down crying on repeat. I despised myself much more than before. I despised everything around me. It traumatized me to the point where I can't get the memory of what I did out of my brain, and I beat myself up every January and February. I tried moving on and finding other relationships, but they've all turned out to be brief flings that lasted no more than a week, despite my best efforts to make things work. I've gone to therapy, I've read, and I've experimented with new activities. I gave up wood carving, something I always loved. Nothing seems to help. As I strive to live by the serenity prayer, the self-hatred and fury have reduced a little. I've been having trouble sleeping lately since I've been watching r/surviving infidelity videos on YouTube. I'm not sure why, but I'm drawn to the narrative, and it reminds me of what I did. Edit. Thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts. I don't think I did anything wrong since I didn't immediately shove her away from me. Were you feeling the joy at the time? True, however, it does not serve as an excuse. Is it possible that I had a gnawing suspicion that my ex-boyfriend was cheating on me? Not that I wasn't concerned since she'd started dating the person I assumed I'd assisted her in getting over and began dating her. As far as I was aware, she had tied the knot with him. Her adultery never occurred to me, and I loved her with all my heart, not anticipating that she would betray my trust. Thank you everybody for your nice remarks, which I appreciate being reminded of. Due to inconsistency in my working hours, I haven't been able to relocate closer to my place of employment. I live about an hour away, and gas prices are increasing, so the gas mileage on my old Ranger isn't fantastic, but I like the old woman. Hopefully, I'll be able to get some help for my self-destructive behavior and apparent subconscious desire to reopen past wounds and emotionally harm myself in the not-too-distant future. Karma has struck once again, reminding me that she does not like me. Although I have some free time to sit and ponder, I also have time to meditate. It's all due of a single axe blow to the foot. It wasn't anything too significant, but it did do some damage to my Red Wing boots.